Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video I'm going to be talking about how I read so much and my rating system and my opinion on audiobooks. So I feel like definitely in the last little while you guys have been asking me like how I read so much and like what is my tricks and stuff. So I figured I would just kind of talk about that and give you guys maybe I guess some tips to help. I don't know. And I feel like my rating system is very complicated, and I kind of talked about it a little bit in the meh book tag, and I kind of just want to give you guys maybe a better idea of how I rate books and like what my thought process is on that, and also how I feel about audiobooks and like my whole opinion on them and everything, because I don't really talk about them on my channel, but I did mention it in my on topic video, episode 6, that I was gonna kind of talk about it, so I'm going to. Yeah, so this is just gonna be kind of a chit-chatty video about those 3 topics, and yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna start with how I read so much. I think I've done a video about this like maybe 2 years ago, like it was early on in my channel. I feel like I probably have better tips now. How I read so much. Basically, I work 3 days a week, like 8-hour days, and so those 3 days typically I don't really read anything. I read my most on like my days off. I don't really read when I go to work, like after when I come home or before work or on my break or anything like that. I don't really read. I don't mix reading and work together. I never really feel good after work and all of that. So that leaves like 4 days off where I like do other things, obviously. And that's usually like when my most reading is done, is like my days off when I have nothing going on. You know, whatever. I don't have a social life, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, I actually don't go out. Like, my only social interaction is with my family or with work. I don't go out. I don't hang out with friends, and I'm not like saying that to be like dramatic. Oh, I have no life. I literally don't go out on my days off. Like, I go out like with my family to run errands or get groceries or get food or whatever. But other than that, like, I don't hang out with friends. I just don't. I'm not a social person. I don't find that like going out to the bars and like getting drunk and like hanging out with friends, like I don't really find a lot of that fun. So I'm not a person that thrives off of like social interaction or like social activities or anything like that. I thrive off of being alone and like doing my own thing. Yeah, I don't have a social life, which means basically a lot of my time is either filming videos or reading and like watching TV and movies and like cleaning my house and like doing all of that kind of stuff. So that is probably how I read so much, just because I don't have a social life. I stay home a lot. I'm also a fast reader, and that comes with practice. Like, the more you read, the better you get at it. Yeah, I'm a really fast reader. I can read a book, like a 300-page book, depending. It's usually like anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, and I just read that straight. Like, I don't really take breaks. I typically just read a book in one sitting, and I usually just finish it. And that just takes practice. It takes practice, and if you have the time, take advantage of it. Yeah, I don't really have any like specific tips. The one thing I would say is like, whenever you have a spare moment where you are probably on your phone, on social media, that is a moment you could be reading. Or if you're waiting for any kind of transportation, or if you're like waiting for something and you decide, oh, I'm gonna go on Twitter or Instagram. Instead of doing that, you could be reading a book on your phone or have an actual book with you. That's like my advice, is like any spare little moment that you have that you would spend just on your phone doing whatever, you could be reading something. Even if you read like 2 pages, that's really like, eventually you'll finish the book, right? So I don't know, that's just my advice. Less social media, more reading. I know it's like really hard, but yeah, I don't really have any tips and tricks. Like I just don't. My downtime is reading. My favorite part of my day is like being able to read something. So I somewhat make that a priority to me. I treat myself a lot in the way that like I make time to do the things that I love and that I feel are important to me and help me as a person. Yeah, I don't really have any like specific tips or tricks. I just really don't go out and I spend all my time reading. It's really my only thing. Also, like if I have a day where all of like I'm done filming, all my videos are edited, I'm not really in the mood to watch TV, my house is clean, all of that is done, then I'll spend like the entire day reading, and I'll just read like book after book after book, and like usually I'll read like 3 to 4 books, and that'll just be my day where I just read. And like I know a lot of people can't do that, like not because they have other things going on, but because like some people just can't sit still for that long and like just focus on reading. But the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I would just say practice makes perfect, really. And the more you read and the more you put time there, the better you get at it, the faster you'll get. I know a lot of people, obviously life gets in the way, and I know that I won't be able to read like this forever, obviously, because I'm, you know, at some point gonna have to work more, or, you know, I'm gonna have somewhat of a social life at some point, probably. I know I'm not gonna read like this forever, but for now this is just my life, and I don't know, I find it really important for me to take that time to read. I just feel it's very self-healing, and my downtime is so important to me, so it's just how I like function, really. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but I use reading as an escape, and I use it as like a therapy situation where I just like ignore all my problems and just read. It's basically how it is for me. I read a lot when I'm like sad or anxious, or I especially read when I'm anxious. It helps me take my mind off of like whatever I'm anxious about. Yeah, I kind of put all my problems into reading. Okay, my reading system. This is super complicated. I don't feel like I have an actual specific rating system or whatever. I do use like 1 to 5 stars, and obviously I use them on Goodreads a lot. Like I follow it on Goodreads. Unfortunately, like you can't do half stars or whatever, so I still do use half stars, especially if I'm like stuck between a rating where I'm like I can't figure out if it's like a 3-star or 4-star. Then I'll be like, okay, it's 3.5. 5 stars means it's like my favorite thing ever. Like I will probably reread it. I consider it one of my favorites of all time. 4 stars, still really loved it. I probably consider it still a favorite. There was just like maybe a couple things I wasn't like in love with, or it didn't live up to my favorite books. Sometimes I compare ratings and compare books. I'm like, oh, did I love this book as much as this book? If I say no, then I like lower it, obviously. Does that make sense? 3 stars is I liked it. It was a decent read. There were more things I liked about it than I hated, but there were still things that I disliked, or I didn't love the story as much or the characters. There was just something missing, basically. 2 stars is kind of my like meh rating. Like I don't ever think about it. I would never reread it. Not memorable for me. 1 stars is just no, like don't like it. It's not even that like I hate it, it's just like there was nothing I liked about it. Could be that I hated it. I hate that, like that word is so harsh. I don't know, I always feel bad giving books like lower than 3 stars because I know how hard it is to write a book, and I know all of the blood, sweat, and tears that go into creating a story. And so I never feel like joy giving a book under 3 stars. Like I always feel like, oh, you know, because I feel bad that I didn't like it, but it's just how it is. I base my rating more on my enjoyment than anything, honestly. If it was a book I could not put down and like I just kept reading and reading and reading, and like I didn't check my phone or anything, or like I didn't take a break to go to the bathroom or to drink or whatever, then like that is usually a 5-star. I base things more on my enjoyment than the actual book itself. Like obviously other things come into play, like the writing style, the characters, the storyline, like the plot. Those are all things that do tie into like my rating. But usually it's like my enjoyment. Like, would I reread it? Would I recommend it? I mean, I still recommend books that I don't necessarily like because I feel like someone out there might like what I don't like, so I still recommend books I'm not necessarily like the biggest fan of. I don't know, I feel like my rating system is still really like all over the place because I have some favorite books that I've given 3 stars. And a lot of that is either because the writing style is like not the greatest, or it could be like kind of problematic, but I still love it. Or maybe the storyline, like the plot didn't flow, or like there's like some inconsistencies in it with like the timeline, or like, you know, things like that. That could make me rate it lower. But yeah, it's really hard because I talk about how I've rated some of my favorite books 3 stars, and that's usually because of the writing and all of that. I don't know, does that help you guys in any way of like how I rate books? I don't think I've ever talked about how I rate books, to be honest. I kind of use like, I think on Goodreads, here, let me check. Okay, yeah. So it's 1 star is did not like, 2 is it was okay, 3 liked it, 4 really liked it, 5 it was amazing. I totally agree with that. Yeah, that's probably a basic explanation of how I rate things. It's like I use pretty much Goodreads and the way that they rate things. So I don't know, if you have any more specific questions about my rating system, I can try to answer them down below. Now, my opinion on audiobooks. I have never listened to an audiobook for a book, like on my own. Obviously, we had it in high school. I think we were reading Macbeth at the time, and there was like an audiobook for that, and we'd like follow along, which is I think the only time I ever truly listened to an audiobook. And I was maybe in like 7th grade, 8th grade, I don't know, so long ago. I'm not against audiobooks whatsoever. I think any form of reading is reading, and like any form that you read a book on is reading to me. Like audiobook, ebook, physical book, library book, like all of it to me is like you're reading. Like it's not, I'm not very judgy on that. I think if the only way you can read is by audiobooks, go for it. Like do it. To me, as long as we're reading, I'm okay about it, you know? Like I want everybody to read and love reading and promote reading. I think that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter what platform you read on. Or what is a platform, what style you read on. I'm not making sense. Anyways, I'm totally for audiobooks. I think it's really great, really important. I definitely do think that there needs to be more availability for audiobooks. I feel like obviously there's Audible and I think there's Scribd, but it's like limited or something. I don't really know. Obviously I don't pay attention. And then there's Read Me Romance, which is new. I haven't really looked into that yet either. I have talked about it on my On Topic video, but that I haven't really checked out either. But I do think it is something that audiobooks need to be more, they need to be more, I guess, accessible as like just normal books, you know? The reason why I don't listen to audiobooks is because I can't concentrate. I just have a really low attention span for like audio things. So I feel like an audiobook could be playing and I would maybe like follow along to 20% of it. And then I'd be like, it's not sticking, like I wouldn't be able to. I'm the type of person that if I'm listening to an audiobook, I would need to have a physical book in front of me and I would have to like read each word. Like I am like a visual person in that way. So it's why I don't listen to audiobooks, because if I'm going to read along with it, why even bother? Like I don't want to waste my money on that. I might as well just read the physical book. So that's why I don't read audiobooks, listen to audiobooks. It's why I don't talk about them on my channel. And I don't see myself ever actually listening to an audiobook. But if there is one audiobook out there that I need to listen to, let me know. Because I am open to it, but I know that I'd have a really hard time with it. I think it's something I'd have to like practice and get used to. So yeah, if there is one audiobook out there that I need to listen to in my lifetime, let me know which one it is and maybe I'll check it out. Because yeah, and also like I read a lot of romance and I feel like a lot of romance audiobooks are not really the greatest. Anyways, I hope this video made sense. I feel like my thoughts were kind of all over the place with everything, but if you have any advice or tips on how to read more, opinions on audiobooks or whatever, or if you have any questions about my reading system, like more specifically, you can leave that all down below. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.